Hey everyone, I hope everyone's doing well this week. So this week I thought we would do a double frame pop-up card, and this is what it looks like. And then the inside here it just says hello friend, and this is what it looks like from the top and the bottom. We can stand it up like so. You can write a little note over here if you'd like. And there we have it, guys. So let's go ahead and get started on making this. Okay, so the pieces we're going to be needing, we'll need 3 pieces of pretty paper, and they're going to measure 5 by 5 7/8 of an inch. You'll need 2 pieces that measure 3 5/8 by 4 inches, and then one of them you're going to take a 2 by 2 3/4 square, center it in the middle, and cut you out a frame. Also need another piece that's 4 5/8 of an inch by 5 1/4. And then this piece is 4 1/4 by 4 7/8 of an inch. These both measure 3 3/8 by 3 5/8 of an inch. And you'll take a 2 by 2 3/4 inch square, center it, and cut it out, and you'll have a frame. Our next piece is our card base. It is 11 by 6 1/4, and it is scored in the middle at 5 1/2. Okay. And then our last piece is this piece right here, and I'm gonna show you how to do it on this. This measures 5 1/4 by 10. Okay, and then let's go ahead and begin scoring. I'm going to give you first the score lines that go all the way to the top to the bottom. Is going to be 4 3/4 of an inch, 5 and 5 1/4. Let's go ahead to make things easier. Turn our paper long ways on our shorter side, and we're going to put in these lines right here. And in Design Space, the red lines are going to be cut lines, and if we're doing them by hand, they're cut lines too, but we're going to score them first. And we're going to work on this line right here. It's a 4 1/4 inches long. In Design Space, your X is going to be on 5/8 of an inch, and your Y will be at 1/2 an inch. Okay, and if we're doing this by hand, we're just going to go down and find 1/2 an inch. Excuse me, and then we're going to score it on 5/8 of an inch, and we're going to score down to this first score line right here. Okay, and then let's jump down to this one. It's also 4 1/4 inches long. The X is at 5/8 of an inch, and your Y is at 5 1/4. And by hand, we'll count down 1, 2, 3 score lines. We'll start scoring on the 5/8 of an inch, and then we're gonna make it 4 1/4 inches long. Okay, now let's work on this line here. It's 4 1/4 inches long. It's going to be place the X at 4 5/8 of an inch, and your Y on 1/2 an inch. And then if we're doing this by hand, we're just gonna find again a half an inch, find a half an inch, and then we'll go and find 4 5/8 of an inch and score it down to our first score line. And then we'll jump down here, we'll count 3 down by hand, 1, 2, 3. We'll start scoring at 4 5/8 of an inch, and we'll make it 4 1/4 inches long. Design space is 4 1/4 inches long. You're going to put the X on 4 5/8 of an inch, and then your Y is going to be on 5 1/4 of an inch. Okay, and then we're going to turn it back this way, and we are going to score this line here. It's 4 inches long. The X is going to be at a half an inch, and your Y is going to be on 5/8 of an inch. We're doing this by hand. All we have to do is go up and find a half an inch and then score between our 2 horizontal lines we just made. Okay? And then our next line, the same thing. We'll go and find an inch and then score between our 2 score lines we just made. Design space, it's 4 inches long. Your X is going to be at 1 inch, and then your Y is going to be at 5/8 of an inch. And then we're going to hop up here and do this line. What we're going to do is go up and find 4 1/4, and we will just score to this first score line that's laying horizontal. Okay, and then if you're doing it in design space, the line is 5/8 of an inch. Your X will be at 4 1/4, and your Y will be at 0. And then we'll do the same. We'll come down still at 4 1/4, but we're just going to come down to this second horizontal score line and score from it to the bottom. And design space, it's still 5/8 of an inch. The X is at 4.25, and your Y is at 4.625. And then we're going to jump over here because we've already done these score lines. At home, we'll just go up and find 5 3/4 of an inch and score it to the first score line here. Design space, it's 5/8 of an inch long. Your X will be on 5 3/4 of an inch, and your Y at 0. And then let's jump down to this line here. So the same thing, we're just gonna stay on 5 3/4 of an inch, and we're gonna score it from this score line to the bottom of our page. Design space, the height is 5/8 of an inch. X is going to be at 5.75, and your Y is going to be at 4.625. All right, and then our last 2 score lines are here. By hand, we're just going to go up and find 9 inches and score it between our 2 score lines. So we'll just from here to here. Design space, your X is at 9, and your Y is at 5/8 of an inch, and it's 4 inches long. And then our last score line is 4 inches long. If we're doing it by hand, we're just going to go up and find 9 1/2 and then score it between our 2 score lines. And then design space, of course, the X is at 9 1/2, and then your Y is at 5/8 of an inch. And then our last thing is our box. We'll need to cut out a box that's 2 by 2 3/4 of an inch. So in design space, make one that size. And then you're going to place the X at 1 7/8 of an inch, and then your Y at 1 1/4 of an inch, and that will center it. And at home, just take your box and you're gonna find 1 1/4 of an inch, and then come in with your ruler and draw a dot, and then you're going to go up and find 1 5/8 of an inch and come down here, and then place your square once you find your center, like so. So we'll know this is our center by drawing the line, and then just draw your box, and that's it. We'll be done with this piece. In the design space, you'll grab it all and hit attach. So we can go ahead, and the only thing we need to do on this is cut our cut lines out. So let's go ahead and do that. And we're going to stop at this score line, and then we're going to go from here to here, and let's do that again. We also could do this on a cutter, and it would probably give it smoother edges. We'll do this one, and we'll go from here to here. Okay, so it should be looking like so. And then we'll do this down to here. Okay, and then our last part is cutting our box out. So we should have something that looks like so. We got a little slits here and here, and then our box cut out. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on working our score lines. The easiest way I found it is to start with your middle score line and score it in half. So let's go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to score the next two lines on each side of the middle score line. And then once we have them worked whichever way we want, we can work them back to the way we need to. But before we do that, let's go ahead and do our other score lines at the end here. Okay, and the last score lines we have to work are the ones that are about 1/2 inch away from our middle. So we can go ahead and work those. So now that we have this worked, what we're going to do is take and make a mountain fold with the center line. Okay, like so. Now we're mountain. And then each of our score lines on each side, we're going to turn into valley folds. So if we turn it over on the back, we should have this little like gusset. Okay. Then for our ends, this top one needs to be a mountain, so we can just turn it the other way, and then this one will be a valley. And let's do this end. So mountain and then valley. Now it should look a little bowed up here, but that's okay. We're gonna fix it. So now what we're gonna do is, if we pinch it down to our last score line on the side, we now have our little photo frames. So what we can do is go ahead. So now I have this pinch like so. We can lay it down and then working everything until it's flat. So this end, you can see, is now flat. Okay, and then we can fold this forward. And we're just really working our score lines to make sure everything is going to fold properly in our card. So the next part we can fold up and fold down. And these should end up flat against each other. So it should look like this. And then we'll pinch them together, like so. And then we'll just work this down. And by doing this, it's really going to help lay nicely in our card. So now everything should be nice, flat, and lined up. Okay? Now that we have everything worked, what we're going to do is in our little gusset here and on our tabs, we're going to place glue or tape and glue everything down like so. Okay? So let's go ahead and do that. And then once everything is glued down, it should look like so. Okay? On the back. And then this is what it's going to look like from the front. Just make sure you give yourself, time enough to let this dry before you decide to glue it down to your card. Before we glue this down, what I like to do is put my pieces on. It seems to go a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead, let's get the card base and fold it up. Okay, so now we can go ahead and once you have your pieces on that you would like, we can go ahead and glue this down. So let's go ahead and put this in the center. So we're going to put glue only on this U-shaped area. And you'll just line it up in the score of your card. Make sure it's centered to the best of your ability. And then once you have the glue down, we'll just glue it down and rub it. So let's go ahead and do that. Now once we think it's set, you'll open it up like so. Flip it to this side. And we're going to glue in our U again. And then fold our card over. So let's go ahead and do that. So there we have it. So let's go ahead and finish decorating our cards and then we'll meet back up here. So this is what I came up for my idea for the card. It says, "What's brewing in your world?" And then I did a little coffee cup, some coffee beans, and a bag of coffee beans over here. And I will say, I did change, I shouldn't say change, add one thing to mine. I added a piece on the back. I just thought the brown on the back just looked too plain, If you want to add this, it's just an additional 5 by 5 and 7/8 of an inch piece of cardstock. And that's it, guys. I think we did an awesome job. And I just want to say thanks for crafting with me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.